Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, hello, Patreon fans. We are on Baranoff Island, which is the home of the beautiful town of Sitka, and we're finally getting around to doing our Snippets. Actually, we did our first one, and it was not good.
We were a little all over the place.
And pretty happy after some beverages that first night, so figured we'd start this again. So overall, what's your thoughts of the Bliss Wake?
It's great. It's a beautiful ship.
Okay, what positives?
The observation deck is amazing.
Yeah.
Huge wide open space, lots of windows, great views. There's buffet breakfast up there, they have a bar up there, lots of comfy seating.
Yeah, I think that is like a definite highlight. And we kind of knew that going into the ship, that it feels like you're sitting in a really nice hotel lobby, I guess. You know, with huge windows, and it's like a great space instead of fighting everybody for, if you just want like a continental type breakfast, you know, some coffee, cheeses, meats, that type of stuff, and then some pastries, oatmeal and fruit. It's a great alternative rather than going to the buffet.
Right.
Yeah, plus just some beautiful views.
I heard that it was maybe super crowded, but if you get up at
Well, it was crowded listening to people talking as we came into Sitka. We were up early.
Right.
But
we were up earlier than we wanted to be today.
Yeah, but if you think you're going to get there like last minute, you know, on a day where you're sailing into a port, it might be a tough time to get a spot.
It seemed like it was pretty full by 9-ish both days.
Yeah,
so far.
just be aware if you really want to sit up there going into a port or like places where there's going to be some really good scenery, it's going to fill up early. People get up there early. So overall, getting on the ship was super easy, like pretty much similar to, I mean, I guess
like San Diego.
Yeah.
Right? Like just
Yeah, so just, I mean, check-in was like, to be like about 5 minutes to do the online check-in, and then getting on the ship was really easy as well. Some cool things as you depart Seattle, I guess, kind of thinking about that, is that they take their time once they do depart. It was a pretty slow sail, so you get some great views of the Olympic Peninsula, all the different islands and stuff. Matter of fact, it wasn't until the sun was setting that we ended up leaving out into the open ocean, so you pretty much had that whole evening to really enjoy the view, especially if it was, we've been super lucky that it's been sunny.
Oh my goodness, the weather's been amazing.
Yeah.
It can be hit or miss up here, so we are very, very lucky. I mean, we're sitting out on our balcony in shorts and T-shirts.
Yeah, it's in the 70s, and last week it was 39 and rainy here in Sitka.
The day that the ship was here, yeah.
So, once again, Alaska, you never know what you're going to get. We are going to go on like a little kayak adventure in a little bit, and then hopefully catch a bus, head into town, and walk around. A couple other things we want to touch on. I think we'll talk about food at the very end. Okay. Kind of do a little bit more of an overview, but you had some thoughts about the Garden Cafe, which is their cabanas.
So I love the Garden Cafe, and one of the things that I love about it is that they have like a legit salad bar, like good lettuce, all the stuff. Like you can make a good meal-sized salad. There are a million choices for other foods too. It's great. Lots of choices, lots of space.
Yeah, the food's good. I've had Indian food both times we were up there. I really enjoyed that spicy, which I like. Is, you know, sometimes everybody blands things down because they want to make it easy for everybody. But this wasn't overly spicy, but it definitely had a little kick to it, which was nice.
Which, like, if you want Indian food, you want it to be a little bit spicy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's supposed to be bland.
Exactly. So yeah, is overall.
I've had a salad and sandwich both days.
Yeah. Overall, I would say, you know, busy, just like cabanas. You know, tough. You know, a little bit of a challenge at lunchtime yesterday trying to find a seat. We found one, no big deal. But
a little bit of a challenge when we first got on board too, like because that's where everybody goes.
Yeah, there are other options. They have sit-down options as well, where you can go and have lunch or breakfast. Matter of fact, we had a sit-down breakfast this morning at Savor or Taste. I forget which one it was, but it was really good.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. So
and we got to sit by the window. We could watch the sceneries. We sailed in to Sitka Harbor.
Yeah, it was a perfect breakfast. So if you don't want to fight cabana, you know, if you don't want to fight the buffet, they do have a sit down, which was really nice today, like you said.
Lots of options.
Yeah, and the good thing is, I hate to keep talking about today, is like 12:30 is our pseudo port adventure. So it's a seriously lazy day. I feel like a lot of times with the kids, and if you're like in Europe, like you're off early, so you got to get up early, and it's a slog. Where this has been kind of a lazy sort of
Well, like
cruise.
yesterday was a sea day. Today's a late port arrival day. Tomorrow will be early and a full day.
Yes.
But because tomorrow we're in Juneau, but it's really nice and relaxing.
Yeah, and I think that's the other aspect of it. Okay, I don't want to get too deep into this, but one of the things I was thinking about this last night and yesterday, like how do you describe the difference? Well, one, when you don't have your kids with, that makes it that makes it a little bit easier.
Just a little bit different.
Although our kids are getting pretty easy, they're pretty self-sufficient, do their own things at times. But I mean, I guess I would say this: like sometimes when you're on the DCL cruises, they've got everybody's marching to a drum, and everybody's like, you got
scheduled. There's a schedule.
There's so much scheduled with the two, dining times, and then the show times. Where like if you step out of that schedule, which we've started to do, you kind of feel like you're like missing something because
everybody's rushing.
The masses are going somewhere,
and then you're all by yourself, sitting wherever. But I will say that's one of the things.
But here it's the opposite. People just kind of do it. I mean, there is a little bit of that where 5 o'clock
dinner
people
time,
are going to
yes,
eat,
or it's happy hour time.
Yeah.
But there's definitely like with the way that they do the food. They used to call it freestyle dining. They don't really advertise that anymore, but on Norwegian. But like, there's just so many choices and so many. And you can eat anytime at I don't know. There's like 10 different spots that you can eat dinner.
Yeah, but to be fair, you have to, if you for the specialty restaurants and everything else, you're gonna book those ahead of time.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And pay extra. But
otherwise, you're going to be at 9 o'clock at night at the steakhouse rather than 7:30, which is what we booked.
Yes.
So you can't just get on the ship and think that you're going to get there at 7:30.
Right. Exactly. But no, it's kind of nice.
And let's touch on just a couple other things. So last night we did barbecue, which was...
It was good.
It was good. I thought the barbecue was good, but I think what was fun was it is a specialty restaurant, so an add-on cost, but they had a stage and they had a live country band from Australia, and they were a lot of fun.
It was fun. Yeah.
Bringing you back to your
good
day.
old 90s country.
Yeah. What did you say? This is my day, or
this is our day.
This is our day. So a lot of 90s. Brooks and Dunn. They finished it off with Brooks and Dunn. Some Patsy Cline. Who sings the Boots Are Gonna Walk All Over You? He kept on telling me why are things always walking over me?
I don't know.
When I'm sitting there having dinner with you.
I don't know.
You're like,
no, I mean that's not. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then we went and saw. Nova has been talking about this show, I guess, recently, which I didn't even know about it until she said that it's on board. But we went and saw, what did we see?
6.
And what did you think?
It was great.
What was it about?
The wives of Henry VIII.
Yeah, but done to sort of like Spice Girls pop culture.
It was really good.
It was, and you know what I liked about it? It was hour and 15 minutes long.
Yeah, I mean they trim it down from the Broadway version for the ship, and there's no intermission, and all those things. So it does make it speeds it along a little bit.
Yeah, well, at 9:30 at night after some
needed it to
drinks
be an
and
hour.
dinner, I did not need a 2-hour show. Matter of fact, the people next to us
were asleep
at different times. So. But yeah, that was really good. I really enjoyed it. So 6 was good. What else have we done that we haven't touched on? Any other things different that you noticed between NCL and DCL?
Nothing off the top of my head.
No.
I mean, other than just the styles of the ship. Like I was saying, I'm no interior designer or architect or anything, but it's just this is sleek and contemporary and just a completely different style, which is here or there, but it's a different aesthetic.
So not theme, like the Disney ships, but what's nice about it feels, and I mean, I guess I've said this enough, but to me it feels like a nice Hilton or Westin that you stay in.
It's kind of modern,
and on the sea, moving along, it's that kind of feel. The room is perfect for 2 of us. I mean, it's definitely smaller.
It's definitely smaller. I mean, our room is set up where there could be 3 people in it, and I think it would be tight with 3 people.
Right. And there's no curtain, so if you have kids on here, and I know Christy's talked about that before, like on these ships, you don't have a curtain that kind of marks off your space, which is nice, especially if you have little kids.
Well, to be able to stay up and read and put them to bed and have it be dark in their space is not a possibility here.
Right, but overall, very comfortable room. I like the bed.
Yeah.
And I love the bathrooms on here because they get like a stand-up shower. It's like a clear, glass kind of.
It's
not
very
glass,
European
but
looking.
yeah, one sink, and one bathroom. But I really enjoy. I like the bathrooms on here.
It's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is about it for this first snippet. We will be back for a second after Juneau because we're going to go do.
Oh yeah, glacier thing.
Yeah, we're gonna go into Juneau. We get in there early, I think like 6 a.m.
It's very early. Yeah.
So get up, wander into town a little bit, but then we're as Lake and Katie are doing as well. We're gonna get on a little boat and head up to the glacier. Hopefully, get a little bit closer, get some great views and pictures.
Hopefully, see some sea creatures.
Yeah. Oh, we did. We saw whales.
Oh yeah, we saw whales the first day.
And yeah,
A seal. Harbor seals. We were pulling into port here today.
Yeah, and then when I was running on the treadmill yesterday, saw a pod of I think it's a pod, but some beluga whales go by too, which was really cool. So definitely seeing some wildlife. I think we saw a golden eagle go flying by, and hopefully, I would love to see some sea otters as we kayak.
I love the otters.
I know that would be super cool, but maybe we'll just see a starfish.
Something.
Anyways, we've got a lot of thoughts about the Bliss that we will kind of finish up with at the end. We'll talk about like food overall at the end, I think, because we've got the 2 specialty restaurants coming up, the steakhouse and the French restaurant, and then we did eat the first night in one of the main dining rooms, and we'll probably do the main dining rooms the next 2 nights, and it's been good.
It's been good.
Yeah, I would say the main dining room just overall that first night was. And this is to be expected, not as good as the Disney main dining rooms at all. But I think the specialty restaurants, I'm really looking forward to the steakhouse tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it was also the first night, so it's hard to...
I think it was representative of what... Well... But that's why I want to kind of hold off and make sure that we hit it the next 2 nights as well. So, all right.
Get a full impression.
All right, well, that will do it for our first snippet. Hope you enjoyed this one, and as we get out of here, we'll do some kayaking, take some pictures, and throw it up on Facebook for everybody. And I hope you enjoyed this following along as we cruise up to Alaska. Goodbye, everybody.
See you later.
Well, welcome to snippet number 2 on our Norwegian cruise up to Alaska. This is Steve, and of course... Anna-Wake. My traveling companion. We are in Icy Strait Point today. Oh, there they go. They're pulling them back up. Okay, so we're in Icy Strait Point today, which is we're parked right next to the land here, and our cabin is facing the land, and you can see the gondolas and the zip line. It's like... Disneyland here in Alaska.
It is Alaska Disneyland. And as soon as the ship docked, people were getting off the ship to go do the Disneyland things.
All the Disneyland things. And
people are riding the Incredicoaster.
Yeah, right below us. It's a joke with us with our kids. Is like at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we're always like, "Get up, kids! People are already riding the Incredicoaster."
And we're all in bed,
I know,
growling at him.
Our family is not rope droppers. Anyways, there is some... so you might hear like a sound in the background. That's the zip line going by, but there's some boats below us. It's
quite loud.
Yeah, one of them's already left to go whale watching. We were going to do that a little bit later this morning. But yesterday, we got to go to Dawes Glacier.
We did. It was awesome.
So we started off in Juneau, got off the ship, didn't really have anything booked in the morning.
We did the on-a-wake layover tour. It was... 5 stars.
Yeah. It was not quite as good as Adventures with Christy, but
no, not quite.
But to be completely honest, it was kind of cool to go back and see it. We just kind of wandered around our airline. Yeah, our airline comes to Juneau quite a bit, obviously, being in Alaska, and so we went up and saw the haunted hotel.
The haunted Baranoff Hotel.
Yes, they put us up in. And I never
had any experiences with the hauntings, but lots of stories.
Yeah, and I only stayed there once, so which is weird.
Yeah, I spent multiple summers there, lots of layovers.
Juneau's a beautiful town, so easy to walk into if you want to walk. Otherwise, they did buses. We were the farthest berth, I guess, in Juneau. There ended up being 5 ships by the time we left.
Right. Well, there were 4, and then there was, as we were leaving, there was another Norwegian ship coming.
That's true. That was the Encore that was going to take over where the Bliss was. The Wonder's not up here yet. I think the Wonder is almost to Vancouver today, I think. I'm not sure. But she's getting ready to head up to Alaska here this week. So, but yeah, Juneau, easy walkable town. Lots of shops.
Yeah.
Lots of really good restaurants. They were busy, I will say. If you want to go to the Red Dog Saloon,
get in line early because there was
a line as soon as it opened. The place was packed. So it's kind of a classic Alaskan bar. I think it's more a touristy place now. But at one point,
in the summer it's a touristy place. I think in the winter it's an Alaska saloon.
Yeah. Another good place is the Hangar Bar. A little pricey. I think the fish and chips are there. We ate there last time, but kind of another Alaska Airlines hangout in the winter and stuff like that when you can actually get a seat at the bar. But yeah, a lot of little places to eat, shops and things like that. So we came back. Heritage Coffee, which was good. Somebody knocking?
No, I think it's upstairs.
Okay. Anyways, so then from there we did the Dawes Glacier
it was kind
port
of a cool
adventure.
thing. So the ship Bliss left Juneau at about 1:15, and at about 1, we boarded a smaller boat and headed off up the Endicott Arm, and the Bliss followed.
Right. It was supposed to go up Tracy Arm, but I don't know why it changed. Do you remember?
They didn't say, but I got the impression from the guide that was on the boat with us that both boat captains, the small boat and the cruise ship captain, check the ice conditions and make the decision, kind of a game time decision. And I think that Endicott was more open.
Right. So anyway, it was probably about, so we left about 1 and we did not get back on the ship until 7, right?
Yeah,
Or so,
almost 7:30 because those people behind us had dinner reservations at 7:30 in
right.
5 minutes.
So it was a longer trip than we thought, but we went up Endicott Arm. It was very beautiful scenery going up there.
Waterfalls, icebergs. The woman who was the guide on the little boat was amazingly informative.
Oh, she loved glaciers and just Alaska, and she was information all the way along.
Right.
And she was really good with questions too. Like a lot of people,
really
if you hear the whine in the background, that's the
zip line.
Zip line going by. There's like six at a time, and I think it's maybe even 2 people per little thing that you sit on. I don't know. Nova could tell because she did it, but yeah, lots of information going up to the glacier. Lots of, if you wanted to talk, anything you wanted to ask, she was a wealth of information about glaciers, how they formed, how the Endicott Arm was formed, rocks, geology, all kinds of stuff.
It was, super cool.
We saw a mountain goat, a seal, and lots of eagles. Matter of fact, we just saw an eagle land here. You're going to see a lot of eagles up here.
Yeah.
We can see it over there in the tree. I can see his little white little head looking at us. Anyways, it was cool yesterday to go back. So there was a barge that went by as we were sitting in Juneau, and it must have stirred up the fish because all of a sudden there was like just tons of birds and probably about 6 or 7 eagles all just swooping and diving in and grabbing fish.
Getting all the stuff.
That was kind of cool to watch. And then the other thing too was the seaplanes. Literally, like we were sitting on the balcony, and this seaplane came right around the corner of the ship.
Yeah, it was cool.
And landed right at downtown, which was kind of cool to watch that too. So lots of fun things to watch up here in Alaska.
From Juneau, there's a little seaplane airline that takes people out to the remote fishing lodges. So there's all kinds of places up here in Alaska where people fly in and then go out to the middle of nowhere and do week-long fishing excursions. Right.
So back to the glacier. So we finally made it up to the face of the glacier. Stayed there probably a good 45 minutes or even longer.
Yeah.
And the captain kept turning the boat around, several different ways so we could get lots of pictures. It was very cold and windy up at the glacier.
Super windy.
But absolutely sunny and beautiful.
Honestly, because it's been bright, sunny, cloudless skies while we've been up here, and probably mid-ish 60s, and it was still cold, so I can imagine what it's like when it's actual Alaska weather, where it's 45 and rainy.
Right. But absolutely beautiful. We saw calves several times and just got some great pictures, and it was just cool to sit there as she talked about the glacier, how it formed, all the different aspects of it, like I can't remember what they're called, the arches.
I don't remember what that was called, but it was the moulins, or the caves in the ice. That's what the fresh water drains through, and then that's kind of what creates the fissures that then eventually calve off into the ocean. It's really cool.
And where it's bright blue is where it's calved.
Yeah, it's where as it turns white is where there's more oxygen, more air escaping, and the blue is where the air is contained. So it doesn't calve off until it's more air filled, and kind of the same like with the floating icebergs. Like the seawater, the icebergs are freshwater, and so the seawater will kind of erode the underneath part, and then it flips. It was interesting.
Yeah. And I know Christy and Lake both have these excursions, I think, booked up to the glacier. Now, Dennis's family did it before, but if it works in your itinerary, probably highly recommend that, because it was really cool to get up there.
This one, I mean, if you should find yourself on Norwegian, the one that we did does book early. It's one of the few things that you really definitely need to book before you get on board. Right.
So after that, we got back on, and one of the places that I love on this ship is the District Brew House.
Yeah, super cool space.
It's a really cool space, like super comfortable chairs. That is one thing I will say about this ship. Between the observation lounge, the District Brew House, and some of the other places we've been, very comfortable places to just kind of hang out and have a conversation if you're traveling and sailing with friends.
Right.
Yeah, came back on, cleaned up a little bit, had a beverage before dinner, and then went to the Manhattan room, which I will say that we found a server the first night, Kim.
We like him.
And obviously all of his bosses love him because they're like, oh, Kim, he's always in trouble. And they told us the first night, one of them told us the first night, one of the concierge
the head waiter.
The head waiter people that he was the head guacamole guy in the
Mexican place.
On board. And he was like the best guacamole chef ever. So he's a character. I can honestly say that we're having a lot of fun with the staff on board here.
Yes, for sure.
So looking forward to it. We're going to head back to the Manhattan room tonight and hang out with Kim, hopefully for some dinner.
Yep.
Today we were going whale watching, and then probably I think we're just going to relax and enjoy ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that's about it for today. Tomorrow we're headed to Ketchikan, where we don't really have anything planned, which is going to be awesome. We're just going to get off and wander around through downtown, and it's actually supposed to be 70 and sunny and not raining, which I cannot believe this. We've been so lucky on this cruise, and I just hope for all of you sailing up here later this year that you get some great days like this as well.
For sure.
So any final thoughts?
Not yet.
All right. Well, we'll let you know if we see some whales, and it's whales and mammals. So
hopefully, yeah.
So we will. Oh, I got to say this. When we got back on, one of the one of the assistant cruise directors was standing out on the deck, and he had just been at Icy Strait Point the week before and did the zip line, and there was like tons of snow. And looking at it now, it doesn't look like there's as much snow, so it's kind of melted off. But he had a picture of what, Wake?
A bear, and he said that it was one of the zipline operators that he's become friends with. And I guess there's a trail that you have to walk from the zipline back to the ship, and it was the picture of the bear was the trail cam like right after they had all walked through, so the bear was pretty much right behind them.
Yeah.
So, and I guess just there's also, this is a little bit of a backtrack, but there's a cool hike in Juneau that there is time to do if that's the one thing that you want to do in Juneau, but do be careful because there are bears and mountain lions. I don't know if that's what they call them up here in Alaska, but big cats, all that kind of stuff. So if you see a bear, you're supposed to be still. And if you see a mountain lion or a cougar, you're supposed to be big and loud.
Yeah.
So, but don't get them confused.
Right, but basically, if you're moving up the trail with a group and are loud, the bears
they don't want to be around you.
Yeah, the bear's not going to bother you. But they did say that Icy Strait Point is on Baranof Island, which I think is cool. No pun intended. But there are most bears here on this island, I think, than a lot of other places in Alaska. Right. So. You might be lucky to see it, so maybe we'll see a bear. That'd be kind of cool to see.
I would like to see a bear.
I've never seen a bear.
Not near me, but I would like to see one close,
away. That eagle is still staring at us.
I know. You think we might go get some breakfast.
I know. All right, with that, we are going to end this snippet. I hope you've enjoyed our little look at Alaska, and we'll be back either after Ketchikan. Well, definitely after Ketchikan. We'll let you know how the whale watching went and what Ketchikan was like. Thanks for coming back and taking a listen, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Well, welcome to our third snippet, and it's actually our last cruising day.
Well, it's kind of a pseudo-cruising day.
Pseudo-cruising day, because the Bliss is a Bahamian flagship, like the Disney ships. We have to stop at Victoria before we get to Seattle, since we've been at all U.S. ports, so you have to stop at one foreign port before we get back to Seattle.
Yes.
Yeah, so kind of a maritime law for a lot of different reasons, but it's kind of weird because we get to Victoria tonight at 8 o'clock. They're saying it may not be till 8:30 till you can get off the ship.
Right.
So we're not sure what we're going to do. We're going to play it by ear and see how the crowds are as far as they say it's a 30-minute walk, so probably about a 20-minute walk for us to get into town. Right. So we may get off, wander into town, and see what it's like. It looks like it's going to be a decent day. It's cloudy, but still warm.
Right. So in the clouds we've seen all week.
I know. Well, the first day where it was kind of foggy and cloudy as we...
right, the first sea day. Yeah,
first sea day.
As we cruise north.
Headed north. So we were going to talk a little bit about Icy Strait and talk about our food experience last night in the Beatles show. How's that?
Okay.
All right. So Icy Strait is the newest cruise port up there. It's owned by the Hoona Indian tribe. Am I saying that right? Is it Indian?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's an Indian tribe up there. And it's kind of a man-made port. It's kind of like, we called it Disneyland meets Alaska.
Right, definitely.
So what'd you think of Hoona?
It was super
Icy
cool.
Strait? Yeah.
Icy Strait. So where the ship docked, you could see the gondola and you could see the zip line, and you could smell that they had a fire pit going, and it was definitely like all of the activities.
Right. So they actually have 2 berths where 2 ships can dock. We were there initially by ourselves, and then the Quantum of the Seas, Royal Caribbean's Quantum of the Seas, came in a little bit later. So yeah, they have the long zip line that Nova's talked about, super fast. It gets up to 60 miles per hour. We didn't do that. They also have a gondola that goes up to the top where you can get some sights. We didn't do that either. We did get off, and it's about a 10-minute walk over to the little village where they have an old cannery. They've
kind of through the woods. It's like a trail.
Yeah, it's
super
actually
cool. Yeah,
if you've not been to the Pacific Northwest, it's really... it's a really pretty little trail. It shows you what it's like to hike around here in the kind of rainforest.
Right.
So lots of moss, the green trees. I got a cool picture of the Bliss through the trees, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'll put that up on Facebook. And what else? So we walked over. They got a cannery. They got a couple different restaurants. That's where they do a tribal dance experience you can do.
Right.
They have some other excursions over there.
But it is cool. Like in the cannery, they have set up with shops and stuff, or whatever now. But they have photos and some history stuff about what it was like when that's all that was there, was the cannery and the fishing.
Right.
So.
And there is a legit village there, because actually one of the crew members of the ship that we went on, or the boat that we went on to go whale watching, she had just graduated high school, and so she was getting ready to... Did
you see 12 kids in her graduating class? So, not a big town.
Yeah. But there's an actual small village there. So... it would have been really busy, I think, once the second ship got there. I'm glad we weren't there because it was pretty busy as it was.
Narrow walkways, and but cool to see. Definitely worth going to check out.
I would say, depending on what you want to do, that might be a good day to go whale watching, because you can easily get off the ship, see everything that you want to see, in maybe an hour or so, and then it's basically the same waters because it's kind of across from Juneau, so it's kind of the same waters that the Juneau whale watches go out of.
But it's closer to... There's less boat time to do it at Icy Strait.
Right, and that's a good way to kind of fill the day at Icy Strait Point, I think. So we went out about 12:30 on a whale watch for... It was supposed to be 2.5 hours. I think it was about 3 total, and we got to see some whales. What'd you think?
It was really, really cool. Like, literally right... I mean, it felt like we were right at the ship. But just, a little ways away, we saw... They guarantee you'll see whales. And we were like, really? Is that really... And... because my whale watching experience on the Oregon coast was that there were no whales, there was just motion sickness. So it was super calm. We saw tons of whales, we saw tons of seals, sea lions. One of the guides on the boat told us that because it's a glacier created bay, that there is no sea shelf. It just drops straight off. So it didn't seem, I'm not very good with those kinds of distances, but it seemed like we weren't very far offshore, but he said it was 295 feet deep. So it's super cool.
Right. You could, when we were having breakfast, you could look out the big windows up at the Garden Cafe, and you could see the whales out there kind of moving around. And the early morning whale watching excursions, they were kind of following the whales along. So they can't get very close to them. They're kind of restricted. Although if the whales swim to you, then they just try to do the best to kind of get out of the way of the whales. But lots of really good... If you've got a telephoto lens or some other kind of lens like that, you can probably get some really good shots. But even so, with my little iPhone, I've got some good videos and stuff of the whales.
Right. The guide told us a couple of good tips to take video instead of photos, because the whales are quick and it's easier to take a screenshot than it is to take the actual photo the day of. And he also said that the markings on the underside of their the whale's flukes or like a fingerprint. So it's kind of cool to go back and compare your photos and to see which whales you have photos of.
Right. So the fluke is the tail, so it's the underside of the tail. So as it goes into the water, it's the side that you see right before it disappears, and you can really see the differences in the white markings. So we probably hung around that whale pod for about
an hour.
Then they move away from them to not stress them out because they're just kind of circling. They're following the krill, which is what they eat. And so from there we went over to an island where normally they have some sea otters and some seals and some puffins, and we got to see all of that. The otters were super cool.
Yeah.
And the seals were fun. The seals were there's a couple of them that were doing flips in the water as they were kind of playing. They're like dogs, I think.
And also our guide said that the seals sometimes kind of mock. They're smart enough that they know that these are the whale watching boats, and so they sort of pretend like, they'll do spout, they'll like spit the water to make it look like a spout, so people are like, oh, look at that, and then it's just the seals. Yeah,
they'll go underneath the water and do it from underneath the water too, so you can't see their heads.
Yeah. He also talked about, which for anybody who's a scuba diver, that they dive in that bay there, and that it's it's not Caribbean warm, but it's more like Puget Sound warm, so 55-ish degrees. And the seals will come up and like blow bubbles in their faces when they're diving, because that's what the regulators look like, which I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, and they've seen seals, they've seen whales, and they've seen dolphins while they've been diving down there. So
the whales make their own current.
I would love to do that.
I know. I
didn't even know that was a possibility. I don't think that was a possibility as an excursion, but maybe as a come up on your own into Juneau and do it as a separate trip maybe someday. That would be actually really cool to do. Okay, so let's get back on the ship. So it was a really good excursion there, and beautiful sunset as we sailed and left Icy Strait Point that day.
For sure.
There was a medical emergency, so we were a little delayed, so they had to take a passenger off, unfortunately, and they had a helicopter come in from Juneau to pick them up, so we were a little delayed getting out of there, and then we headed down towards Ketchikan. I'm not going to spend too much on Ketchikan. The Norwegian park's at a different spot. They've got their own like little place now where they have a I guess I will just say this. The Norwegian has a separate place, which is 7 miles away from downtown. Most of the other ships look like they parked downtown. So to get to downtown, you have to take a bus, and it took some time. It was a
serious choke point.
It was a serious choke point getting on the bus to get to downtown, and then once you get downtown, it was a zoo downtown because there was 5 ships in town, and then it was a serious choke point getting back onto the bus. And I'm not going to say anything more than that. If you want more information, just know that maybe going to Ketchikan if you're sailing with Norwegian, get up early
and go,
and it may be kind of a tough go getting back.
I feel a little bit about that. They did say, our bus driver did say that they were short buses, and then we talked to some people later on in the day who said that the bus right in front of theirs had blown a tire, so they were, I don't know if they were short buses to start with, and then they had a bus with a mechanical issue, but it was just like, it was a rolling downhill. It was our day of waiting.
It was a day. It felt like a day at Disneyland. So
and definitely one of those where like you think you're in a big huge long line, and then you round the corner and you're like, oh, and the big long line. Now we're gonna go back and forth in the big long line. And then there were some trees, and we went through the trees, and we're like, oh, and there's still more waiting. It was totally like it was hidden from you. It was definitely like a Disneyland line experience.
Yeah, but that being said, we went down to Creek Street, which is super cool. That's the kind of iconic, iconic little. It's an old.
The fishermen bars and brothels and
of the old towns, which now it's just little shops, and there is a museum if you want to go see the brothel.
Yes, there is. We did not go.
And they said that there was elevators underneath the brothel, which the married men could sneak down. There was
and whiskey. They brought in the whiskey and the
married men to this little trail underneath the brothel, and they rode a little elevator up and in so they could have their fun.
Yes.
And the married women could be at home working and see that their men were not there.
It's awful.
Anyway, we'll leave it at that. All right, so then we got back on the ship. But it was a beautiful day at Ketchikan again, sunny.
It was gorgeous. We've been so lucky with the weather. It's been 65, low 70s, sunny, like not a cloud in the sky. Gorgeous.
Yeah, well, so we'll touch on 2 things. We did one thing that we've been trying to do all week. They have a really cool space called the Cavern.
Yes.
And it's kind of in the bar district, and it is set up to be kind of like
the Cavern Bar in Liverpool.
The Cavern Bar in London, right?
I think it's Liverpool.
Oh, Liverpool. Okay, and they've got the names of all the different artists that have played there, anything from the Kinks to the Beatles to Adele. to modern stuff as well. And it's just a cool little space. And they have a group on from Argentina called the Beatles Experience, and they've been doing probably about 45-minute, hour-long shows where they play different sections, eras of the Beatles. And we've been trying to get to it, and we finally got to it. Last night, we got down early, got some seats. We're like the second row. It's just a small. You'll see some pictures, and they were amazing.
They were amazing.
I thought it was awesome. I will honestly say I'm not. The Beatles are not. I like the Beatles. I've never been a huge fan of the Beatles necessarily, because the music on the albums doesn't. It's good, but I've always wondered what it would be like to see them live, and this did not disappoint.
No, it was great.
Yeah, the guy that played George Harrison had 2 songs, "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," that the solo on that was just...
He was amazing.
He was amazing, and the drummer that was Ringo, and the guy that played John Lennon, and the guy that played Paul McCartney, he just had this look that he just looked like him.
He really did.
Like the mannerisms of it. It makes me want to go and find some old vintage YouTube videos and stuff like that, and kind of watch some of their concerts, because I think seeing that, and I know this sounds kind of cheesy, but getting a taste of what it was, that music last night live, makes me appreciate why people love them so much.
Well,
and if you're a Beatles fan, I'm sorry that I'm late to the party.
Right. One of the things that was actually super cool at the thing is that, I mean, Alaska the crowd can skew older, and so, I mean, like, the songs that they were playing were basically the years that we were born. And first of all, I was kind of struck by the fact that, like, here we are, you know, all these years later, and that we all know all of these songs that were released the year that we were born. But then I looked around at the faces of the rest of the crowd and was trying to kind of judge how old those people might have been in those years. And it was really kind of cool just to watch everybody's faces as they appreciated the tribute band.
Yeah, the songs that were being played.
There's a lot of history going on there in people's minds.
I will say the entertainment has been awesome. There's a band from Australia that does country hits, and we've seen them play twice now.
They're great too. Yeah.
They are really good. The lead singer, the 2 singers, the guy and the gal in it, just have amazing voices to be able to cover a lot of different songs. The Beatles Experience was amazing. We saw 6, which was, we talked about that. That was a great show. And then we caught a little bit of the Jersey Boys last night, right before we went to bed. So, entertainment-wise, it's been great. It's been fun to see, and as adults, I guess, you know, we love the shows on the Disney ships and everything like that. But it's been the thing that we really gravitated towards the last time we were on the Fantasy was just the live music on board there, and we're kind of doing the same thing here too as well. So love the different opportunities to see and experience different things. Right. So huge thumbs up on Norwegian for that. Yeah. And then we capped off the night by going to La Bistro, which is their signature restaurant on board. You have to pay for it. That was included in our package. We got 2 specialty dinings that were included with our booking. So that was where we went to last night. It's their French restaurant, and I would say, in all honesty, and I want to see what you think, I think it was just as good as Palo.
I totally agree.
If not better.
Yeah, the service, in some ways. The space, the food, it was great.
It was definitely on par with Palo. So
I mean French, not Italian.
Right. Yeah. Right. But this food-wise, the service-wise, I think maybe the servers are a little bit more friendlier. Not friendlier is not the right way to say it. Just they're more experienced on the Disney ships than we've had here. But I think that they've done a really good job here as well. Yeah. Conrad last night was great. Yeah, he knew what was good and what wasn't. He kind of walked us through the meal, what we were going to experience and everything like that, and it was a very memorable and enjoyable experience. For sure. And you had your champagne?
Oh, I had my Poivre, yeah. It was very nice. We did champagne tasting in the afternoon.
I forgot about that.
We did like a black glass champagne tasting, they called it, and 2 champagnes, 1 sparkling, and we had to guess. And he gave us, some tips and info, and then we had to guess, and we voted, and we were all not good.
I think we got the champagnes right, but we definitely... We got
everybody else at the table did.
We got the champagnes and the sparkling right, but one of them was a rosé, and that was tough to tell.
It was tough to tell.
And there were 2 of the champagne. It was the Moet Chandon and the Pomeré.
Pomeré was the rosé, and then Chandon from California.
Yeah, so sparkling. This Chandon from California. So good, $22 for 3 glasses of champagne, and the tasting was, and a lot of good information too. The sommelier on board has been, passed on a lot of really good information as well. So kind of similar to what experience on DCL. So I think that's going to do it. We've talked for quite a while here. Anything else, Wake?
I don't think so.
So we're sitting out here on the balcony, sailing towards Victoria. You might be able to hear the waves a little bit in the background. It's
Right. Enjoying our last relaxing day before we're back to reality.
I know, and I can't believe I'm sitting there in a t-shirt in Alaska in May, sailing south like this, and it's just this nice. So, anyways,
nice.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed these snippets. We will do a wrap-up one at the end, probably a shorter one, and it's been just a great cruise, hasn't it?
Yep.
All right, well, I hope you enjoyed these snippets, and we'll see you on our next one. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Well, DCL podcast fans, as always, after 7 days of cruising, it comes to an end.
I know.
It's one of those sad days, but, in all honesty, we get done with one adventure and you look on to the next one. But this has been an amazing cruise with Norwegian on the Bliss up to Alaska this week, hasn't it, Wake?
Yes, for sure.
What are some of your highlights?
The observation lounge deck is a great, super comfortable space. Totally enjoyed all of our time there.
Yeah, great way to take in the scenery as we sailed through Alaska.
Right. Last night we sat up there and played cards. It's lovely.
Yeah, they do a little weird thing here where they have to stop. Well, it's not a weird thing. It's just, we talked about it.
Maritime law.
Maritime law stops in Victoria. We decided not to get off. After a little bit of chaos in Ketchikan, we were like, you know what? We don't want to deal with the crowds.
Yeah.
And there was 3 ships in town. And I think actually looking at it...
And we've all been to Victoria, so it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think looking at it, I think it wouldn't have been that big a deal. But...
we didn't realize that it wasn't going to be a big deal until it was too late to go.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, as you said, we had all been to Victoria before, so I'd love to go back. It's an amazing city, a lot of cool things to see. Looking forward to hearing Lake and Katie are going on a pub and distillery excursion, so I can't wait to hear about that on their cruise when they sail on the Bliss. So,
right.
I guess my highlights would have to be the whale watching in Icy Strait Point. That's the closest I've gotten to whales.
Right, me too.
I love the observation deck as well. Our dinner up at La Bistro was an amazing dinner.
Yep. I'm going to say the weather. My goodness.
Oh, yeah, I can't forget about that.
It's been amazing. Even the ship's captain came, or I don't even know who it was. Somebody made an announcement yesterday about how lucky we've been with the weather, that they've not even seen it this consistently good ever. I mean, practically.
Matter of fact, we were sitting out up at the top deck yesterday for a short while, at least, until they turned into the wind. But for the most part, sitting out in the sun and enjoying some drinks and watching the scenery go by.
It's been great.
So, tips for Norwegian? Any thoughts there?
Oh, well, they do have a paper navigator.
They do have a paper navigator, which is nice. I think there's some fans out there of that.
Yeah, people want to know that. I can't think of any Norwegian specific tips. I guess one of the things, I don't know if this is, but one of the things that we've talked about is it's kind of like, I think all of the cruise lines, they're back after the pandemic, but a lot of the crew members are new. A lot of the, I think old timers decided it was time to stay home in their home countries, and a lot of the crew members are, this is my second contract, I just moved to a Norwegian, I'm new on the ship. There was a lot of that, which it has been in all of the Disney cruises we've done since the restart. And I think just a different service model than Disney. So the crew members are great and super, it's great service. We keep saying they're kind of not always empowered to color outside of the lines, like they are on Disney. I think it's just different corporate culture. So they're not comfortable yet, or they're not empowered to make it magical, I guess, like they do on Disney. But it's been great. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but it's not deficient in any way, the service, but it's not the same.
No, but I would also say that I think a lot of it from the crew members that we've seen is because they're new.
100%. They don't know where they can push the boundaries.
And the ones that have been around longer, like we talked to Raymond up in the cellars,
yes.
They can see the boundaries and they can move beyond that and provide some magical experiences for us. And he found your Bon Jovi wine. You dug deep down in the cellar to find that wine. There's a wine that Mr. Bon Jovi is part of.
Yeah.
Actually,
it was really good distributing in the U.S. Yeah,
it was. So I guess with that, I would say that if you're looking for a different cruise line, to try, and Disney doesn't quite meet your price point, maybe look at Norwegian. They've got
we definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, they've got a lot of good benefits, a lot of good adult entertainment. We haven't really talked about the kids clubs because we didn't really experience it, but they do have them.
They do have them. There's only 2. It's 3 to 12, and there's the nursery also. So for babies, and then a 3 to 12, and then 13 to 17. We've never actually cruised when it's been not. We always go in May or September or times when it's not normal for kids to travel. So we don't ever see a whole ton of kids on board, but I think that there is a lot in the summer. And the friends that we're here with today have traveled multiple times with their kids. So I think other cruises, there's lots of kids.
Yeah. So with that, we are going to close out this section of Snippets. We will be back in a little less than 30 days, heading over to Greece to sail on the Disney Dream, which is going to be cool to see that. So thank you so much for all of you who listened to this episode of Snippets on our Alaskan cruise. We want to wish you and your family all the best as you head out on your summer vacations, whether you're cruising, going out with Adventures by Disney, or just spending time with family and friends. On behalf of myself, Wake, and all of us here at the DCL Podcast, we want to wish you to be well, enjoy time with family and friends, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this look back on our sailing to Alaska on the beautiful Norwegian Bliss out of Seattle. There's a lot of different options out there. It doesn't always work to sail with Disney Cruise Line, be it the dates or the price points or who you're sailing with. Our friends really enjoy Norwegian, and so do we. Also out of Seattle, you can sail with Royal Caribbean, Holland America, Princess, and Carnival does sail up there as well, although we didn't see any of the Carnival ships up there this time. One thing I'm not sure we really touched on was when we booked this cruise, we looked at the ports, but we really didn't look at the times. And looking back on it, Norwegian runs a 7-day cruise on the Encore. It's a sister ship to the Bliss, and I think we would have probably enjoyed those port times a little bit better. So if you're looking at Norwegian, that might, or any cruise line really, when you book that cruise, maybe take a look at what time the ship is going to be in port as well. Also, Icy Strait Point, there's kind of limited things to do there. We really enjoyed whale watching there, and I think that's a great place to do that at, is at Icy Strait Point. But the Encore actually stops at Skagway instead of Icy Strait Point, and there's really a lot more things to do in Skagway. So that might be something that you might consider as well. The Wonder has different sailings as well, where they swap out Icy Strait Point for Skagway. So you might want to do your research on what type of port adventures there are, or the little research in the port as well, and decide whether one of those two might work better for you and your family. Either way, sailing up to Alaska is just an incredible experience with the scenery, the wildlife, and being able to do it with friends makes it even better. We'd also like to give a huge shout out to our Patreon supporters. They help bring this show to you each and every week ad-free. If you'd like to find out more on how you can support our show, you can go to patreon.com/DCL Podcast and find out all the information there. Well, summer is upon us for many of you out there. It is just right around the corner for us up here in the Northwest. On behalf of all of us at the DCL Podcast, no matter where you're traveling this summer, whether you're heading out on a Disney cruise, another cruise line, headed out with Adventures by Disney, or just spending time with family and friends, on behalf of myself and all of us here at the DCL Podcast, we want to wish you to be well, enjoy time with family and friends, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast. Goodbye, everybody. The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.